What happens when, rather than being tougher than the toughies, smarter than the smarties, and sharper than the sharpies, and earning your money square, you make your fortune through theft, backhanded deals, and throwing morality out the window to get what you want. And yet, no matter how much you try, you'll always end up in second place. Welcome to the Rogues Gallery, where I examine the greatest and most vile villains that animation has to offer. And today, we're finally talking about one of my favorite cartoons and one of the best reboots of recent memory, DuckTales 2017. I could look at any number of villains within this show, but today, we're going to focus on the greatest rival Scrooge has, the second richest duck in the world, Flintheart Glomgold. We're going to be judging him by his effectiveness as a villain, how entertaining he is as a villain, how he interacts with the main cast, and whether or not any of his defeats feel earned. By the way, spoilers incoming for DuckTales 2017. You've been warned. Now for a history lesson, bitches. Flintheart Glomgold originated from the Don Rosa comic The Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck. Originally a Boer from South Africa, Flintheart tricked Scrooge, stealing all of his supplies, and left him to die in the wild. Humiliated when Scrooge caught up with him and sought vengeance, he vowed to become the richest duck in the world to get back at Scrooge. The 1987 DuckTales series largely kept their rivalry the same, except they made him Scottish, removing any references to South Africa, likely due to apartheid happening around the same time.
Whoever loses, eats my hat.
The reboot Flintheart, voiced here by Keith Ferguson doing the most outlandish Scottish accent you can think of,
Into the vault, grab the money tree, we split the profits 90-10, then I blow up the vault to cover that max!
combines the two backstories into one, in a glorious callback to the original show and the original comics. See, Flintheart was a little kid growing up in South Africa, also voiced by Keith Ferguson, who also manages to pull off a genuine South African accent.
So, what brings you to South Africa?
He meets up with Scrooge and, after attempting to shine his spats, Scrooge gives Glomgold a dime, hoping to inspire him the same way Scrooge was inspired. Glomgold doesn't take it well.
You think you're so rich and so Scottish?
Feeling like he was gypped, Glomgold pickpocketed $2 million off of Scrooge and used it to move to America and create an entirely new persona for himself, including wearing a fake gray beard and pretending to be Scottish, just so Glomgold can say he's not only richer than Scrooge, he's also more Scottish than Scrooge.
Thinks he's so rich and so Scottish. Well, I'm wearing a kilt, McDuck. A kilt!
Oh, and one more thing. Flintheart Glomgold isn't even his fucking real name. His real name is Duke Baloney, which is a reference to the Duke of Baloney, who was the original second richest duck in the world in the comics before Flintheart Glomgold got introduced and became a mainstream character. Ain't it crazy? First up, let's examine how effective he is as a villain. Glomgold appears sporadically throughout the series, having 6 appearances in Season 1, 6 appearances in Season 2, and only 3 in Season 3. Only in a handful of these is he the main antagonist, and if I'm being honest, very rarely is he actually a legitimate threat. Scrooge and the family hardly recognize Glomgold as anything more than a nuisance, and really he's more of a danger to himself than he is to others.
Fine, I'll dry off quicker.
Not only that, he's a really bad businessman. How he made his fortune is beyond me when he's pretty openly antagonistic not just towards the McDuck clan, but towards anybody he'd benefit from a business deal with.
I break into the vault, grab the money tree, we split the profits 90-10, then I blow up the vault to cover that max!
The creators say he made his fortune by slapping his name on as many things as he can, which you can actually see throughout the series. A bunch of episodes will have some type of Glomgold Industries advertisement in the background. I guess if you cast your net wide enough, you'll pull up gold eventually. The closest he's ever come to well and truly winning in an episode was the 87-cent solution, wherein he comes really close to convincing Scrooge's family that he's got a deadly disease, which also brings Scrooge to the brink of madness.
Who is Chester, was it?
He's the unknown. He's the question. There he is!
A really good episode actually, highly recommend it. Outside of that, you have the episode Glomtales, wherein he gets a bunch of Scrooge's foes together and comes very close to actually beating Scrooge in their bet to see who can make the most money. If not for a minor oversight, but we'll discuss that later. So Glomgold is pretty ineffectual. Obsessed with death traps and sharks, can't really get along with anybody for long, and is laser focused on harming Scrooge even at the expense of his own personal safety.
In a sudden, shocking turn, Flintheart Glomgold has revealed his stupidity and cowardice.
As an effective villain, let's be real, he stinks. But that doesn't matter because Flintheart Glomgold is fucking hilarious. Look at how he shows up to Scrooge's funeral.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never give up. Everybody hands go up.
His pettiness towards Scrooge is so insane, he'll proclaim that he's beaten Scrooge when they are on the same team fighting off an alien invasion.
I defeated Scrooge McDuck! We were on the same team!
And that's not even getting into episodes where he's just part of the plot for laughs, like when he attends Doofus Drake's birthday party with a ventriloquist puppet as his son.
You're making me look like a fool! You don't need my help, geezer!
Or how about the time where Glomgold made his own intro in this series where Disney characters take over the series theme songs, which was so goddamn hilarious, they used it in the episode Glomtales.
CG, it's so fancy. Once Scrooge sees this, there's no chancey. Can he compete with the glory of Glomdale?
Flintheart Glomgold is a goddamn riot. Now looking at how Flintheart interacts with the main cast, of course he hates Scrooge with a burning passion. And every interaction between the two of them is comedy gold, with Glomgold's righteous fury combined with Scrooge's casual indifference.
Ha! You thought you had me, Scrooge, huh? Pretending to be a bot in my dreams? Nice try!
Goodbye, Duke Baloney. Hello, Flinty.
Funny enough, he doesn't really interact with the kids or Donald that much either. He meets Donald in the first episode, but has no idea that he's related to Scrooge until the end, and just treats him like an employee. His interactions with Louie and Webby in the Ballad of Duke Baloney, for the most part, are during a time where he has amnesia and doesn't recognize them. Actually, funny enough, Louie is the triplet that he interacts with the most, being at Doofus Drake's party, teaming up with Louie and Glomtales, and he's at Scrooge's trial. But nothing about how they interact seems any different than how he'd be interacting with the other triplets or Webby, so we can chalk up Glomgold's one meaningful interaction to Scrooge. Now in terms of defeats, Glomgold has a few. More often than not, they're due to his own hubris and insanity. He did come incredibly close to winning one time, as previously discussed in Glomtales, with the defeat in this episode being particularly satisfying. By combining all the shared assets of the team he put together, they actually end up having more money than Scrooge, and Glomgold is about to sign it all under his name. He was ready to split it with Louie as an extra means of sticking it to Scrooge, when as it turns out, due to the fine print and technicality, all the money goes to Louie. Why? Because Flinty here signed it as Flintheart Glomgold. Now remember, that's not his actual legal name. His real name is Duke Baloney. Wherein Louie, rather than signing it as just Louie, signed the contract transferring the wealth to him by his birth name Llewellyn. So Louie gets all of Scrooge's, Glomgold's, and the other villains' money, making him the richest duck in the world, while Glomgold is left fumbling down a cliff. I'ma say it once, and you'll hear me say it 1,000 times when I talk about DuckTales. Louie is the best triplet. And there you have Flintheart Glomgold. A kind of pathetic but utterly hilarious villain who is so unbelievably petty, he'll change his entire identity, name, and ethnicity included, just to get back at someone he feels has wronged him. A man who until his dying breath will stop at nothing to make sure he's the richest duck in the world, and curse the name of Scrooge McDuck. I don't have a clever outro this time, but you can call me Crit.